Good morning and welcome to BBOC Live, presented by DraftKings. It's 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and this is the Week 8 college football betting preview. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-hosts, Collin Wilson, Mike Calabrese, and of course, the one and only Josh Nunn, aka Duck. A lot to get to today. We'll give our first of two best bets in just a moment. We'll go through the marquee matchup of the day. There's many. We had to choose just one. We're going with Notre Dame USC in prime time. We'll build our money line parlay and we'll talk some FCS with Duck. Make sure you have your books up and ready to go for that segment. By the way, make sure you download the award-winning Action Network app. You can find all of our bets there and Quick Slip. We'll be dropping Quick Slip links in the YouTube chat, so use those quickly if you want to follow along. Load your bet slip right away. Also at Playbook on Twitter. Make sure you're following that. You can just at Playbook whenever you see a bet you like or a parlay, and it'll just automatically load it for you, take you right to your book. Very convenient bot. You can even like just tell it, hey, I want this and this. It'll reply right away with your bet. So super convenient. Gentlemen, we got a great slate on paper today. There's just, look, college football, it's just parity. Like this is, it's just the NFL now. Like with the top 20 to 25 teams, we're gonna have upsets throughout the year. We saw one last night with Louisville going down to Miami and picking the Canes off. That's gonna make the ACC race super interesting. We're gonna get to some good games, but I'll ask you this before we get started. What's the worst game or the worst team that you bet today? Duck, I'm sure you got a good candidate here.
Let's see. The worst team I'm banking on Akron and Ball State's defenses to show up. I took the under there.
Okay, so you're rooting for
Um,
Akron and Ball State. You'll have to keep an eye on that. Colin, what's the worst game that you bet or will
I
be watching or
I
team?
have I have a couple hundred on UMass at 16 and a half. I didn't put it in the app because I just couldn't I'm not sure if I'm capable of putting UMass in after we were a big Kent State rodeo that we had that we won that. I didn't know if I had the balls to put UMass in the app, but I do have my real money, live money, not Monopoly money on UMass covering Buffalo.
Well, I just put a lot more money than that on Oklahoma State tonight, so that is going to be an adventure. I just couldn't get to that number. Like 24 at home in wind against Cincy. I mean, Cincy was laying 21 at home to Bowling Green and didn't cover. Or Central Michigan. I one of those two. Like maybe Oklahoma State's a bottom 8 or 9 team, but I had to take the 24. Their run defense is a little better, which helps in the wind. I don't know. It'll probably be 50 to nothing at the half, but that is by far, and I bet some bad teams today, the worst team that I bet. It's incredible how bad they are. Calabrese, what do you got?
Yeah, we have quite the collection of awful teams here. I'm on Kent State. I caught 26 and a half against Toledo before Candle beat the brakes off of Akron 45-3 earlier this year. He hadn't beat a MAC school by 28 points in 25 games. So all of a sudden they're going to get off the mat. This season feels like it's a lost year for the Rockets. And Kent State, it seems like their strategy of saving their players in the paycheck games at least paid off against UMass. They got a little wind in their sails, so I'll take them get close to 4 touchdowns as a dog.
Drew DeShields Nation. And by the way, I don't know how many other people have Bowling Green like me to win the MAC, but if they win today, their schedule the rest of the way is four bottom 10 teams. They got all the four worst teams in the MAC and Buffalo at home. They're going to be live, but who knows? The MAC's going to be more and more chaos. But anyway, let's get to our first best bets. Colin, kick things off. What do you got?
Let's go with a big one on the board. Let's take Georgia -7. This is a game where I see multiple avenues for Georgia to cover this number. Their defense just absolutely dominates inside zone at 56% success rate. And then when Ole Miss lines up and decides not to do zone, they're going to do man blocking with the offensive line. Georgia's defense actually goes up to 60%. When you look at Ole Miss, you say, well, what are they? They look explosive. They look beautiful. I think they can win the playoff. But really, what it is Trinidad Chambliss in space just juking people out of their shoes. That's not going to happen at Georgia. They're second in PFF tackling. In their last 3 games, they've only missed 17 tackles against Auburn, Kentucky, and Alabama. I mean, average is 13 tackles missed per game. They've only missed 17 in 3 games. Georgia's defense is on par right now. And Georgia on the offensive side, they're kind of someone you can trust when they have the ball in the red zone. They're 10th in offensive finishing drives. Gunnar Stockton's just got a slew of running backs. And I don't think Ole Miss can cover Zachariah Branch. 21 of his 36 targets have come behind the line of scrimmage. Ole Miss is 74th in tackling. So there's just a huge discrepancy in tackling. I think that plays out here.
Yeah, I'd lean your way. I'm just all these SEC teams are so similar to me. It's insane. Calabrese, what do you got?
I'm going to go with under 57.5 between Cincinnati and Oklahoma State. Wind is just ripping through the state of Oklahoma. And in the second half of this game, you're going to see gusts close to 30 miles per hour. This is already a game for Oklahoma State where they're not going to be able to pass the football. With Sam Jackson the fifth at the wheel, this offense just mustered 225 total yards against Houston. He finished with negative 28 rushing yards, but he was only sacked twice. So it's not just the fact that the offensive line can't protect him; they can't even get him going in the designed run game. There's also a look ahead angle for the Cincinnati team that's absolutely live in the Big 12 race. They got Baylor and Utah ahead. No reason to show too much in the second half. And pace would be a problem in this game if Oklahoma State was effective, but they're not going to be able to move the football. So the fact that they're top 25 in seconds between plays, that doesn't really impact what I think about the total here. And the last piece of it is in the second half when Cincinnati goes into their 4 minute offense, they're just running the football. Oklahoma State's run defense is the best thing about them. When you look at them, they're in the 60s across the board in success rate, line yards, stuff rate. So I don't think you're going to have as many explosives on the grounds. I think this game will play out very similarly for Cincinnati in the same way that Arizona played Oklahoma State not that long ago. It was a 41-13 final for the Wildcats. I see this game being played in the high 40s, low 50s, so I'll go under 57.5.
41-13 does not work. Let's call it let's call it 41. What do you have? What's your number here?
57.5. So
Let's
what
call it
because you're taking the
38.
points, right?
Let's call it 38-17. Yeah, that is a good thing. That's one of the reasons why I not just the number, but the win that compromises since he's passing attack too. Oklahoma State's run D is so much better. So we're kind of correlated there. Duck, what do you got?
UCLA -3. There's a night and day difference with UCLA in production under Tim Skipper since he's taken over. The attitude and the intensity on defense has increased. Just some of the improvement in the metrics have been red zone defense, 7 out of 12. Red zone trips the last 3 weeks have resulted in touchdowns. Well, it was 12 out of 12 before that. Third down offense significantly improved. Execution with Nico in the passing game significantly better. You just look at what this team has done with the buy-in. Many players had an opportunity to opt out or take a red shirt. Well, the mass exodus never happened. So these players believe in what Tim Skipper is doing there. Now with Maryland, they held leads in the fourth quarter in their last two against Washington and Nebraska, blew both of them. Now they've got to travel across country to go play in the Rose Bowl with Indiana on deck. There is a buy in there, but Indiana's on deck. I think Loxley will get out coached here. I think UCLA is superior talent, just composite talent ratings. Three is a short number. I like UCLA to get the win at home.
Yeah, completely different team the past few weeks. Tough spot for Maryland trying to get up off the mat, traveling across country against a rejuvenated Bruin squad. All right, I'm going to go to my beloved Mac. I'm going with the chips. Fire up chips, Central Michigan. Anything over three is fine. These are two clones. Like these are the exact same teams. They want to run the ball. They want to go slow. They're better at defending the run than the pass. Neither team can throw the ball. I don't think Drew Pine's going to play, but even if he does, I mean, he throws it 3 yards downfield. Not gonna, they're not going to exploit Central Michigan's back end. So what's this going to come down to? Like this game should be on a Tuesday. It's going to come down to some dumb special teams or muff punt, take the points, take over three. And what I really like about this, Central Michigan off the bye, Bowling Green off the miraculous comeback win against Toledo. I mean, they got outgained by 200. They were thoroughly dominated in the game, and then they got a fumble at the one. They got a screen pass at the end of the half, a trick play touchdown. I mean, it was really a miracle win. But I value these buys for a little bit more for these teams that are brand new. Central Michigan, brand new staff, brand new roster. So I expect them to have a little bit more of a diverse run game, some trick plays here that might give them a little bit of an edge. So give me the chips. Hopefully, Bowling Green wins by 3 for the future. I have Central Michigan too, but their schedule is much tougher down the road. Bowling Green has nobody left. All right, so those are our first best bets. Georgia, Cincinnati under, UCLA, and Central Michigan. Thanks, Collin. At least you gave us a marquee game. We're us
Kind of
three are giving
gross.
you UCLA, Central Michigan, and Cincy Oak State. All right, before we build our money line parlay, I'll throw it to myself, tell you a little bit more about DraftKings. The Big Bets on Campus podcast is partnered with DraftKings Sportsbook. where new customers can bet $5 and get $300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. And that's 3 months of NBA League Pass to new customers to get started. Just use promo code BBOC when signing up with DraftKings. Again, use code BBOC when signing up and bet $5 to get 300 back in bonus bets if your bet wins, plus 3 months of NBA League Pass. The crown is yours.
One.
All right, let's move on to our moneyline parlay. This is the portion of the show where I tell Calabrese that he's wrong. Colin, what do you got?
Well, Calabrese actually has the pick that I wanted this week that we talked about on BBOC, so I'll leave it for him. And I'm going to go ahead and pivot over to SMU and Clemson. Clemson is going to be without Cade Klubnik. I could give you all the stats in the world, but frankly, I didn't think SMU had a shot in the world. But now that Klubnik's out and you're going to Christopher Vizinia, never thrown a TD, 5 turnover-worthy plays, 14 career passing attempts. He's in charge of this Clemson offense today. Youch. I think that number is, I think it was confirmed maybe about 30 minutes ago. We're down to 3.5. It's still a dog. So let's get on it.
I think for SMU, Brinson's going to play. I'm not sure in their corner. I haven't seen an update. But Brinson playing is big for SMU. Calabrese, what do you got?
Meet. I'm going to go with the Roadrunners plus 150. Their offensive coordinator, Burke, has done a great job working around a leaky offensive line. We talked all throughout the offseason about how many weapons they had coming back, our starting quarterback. Well, it all kind of went to hell early in the season because they couldn't protect McCown at all. So what he's done is he's increased the quick game. All the deep passes are coming off of rollouts and waggles and play action passes. So when Robert Henry is forcing them into the box and then getting him outside in terms of McCown for the play action, that's when they're hitting their deep shots. You've also seen his ADOT has gone down by about 15% year over year. That's by design. They want to be able to get the ball out of his hands so he's not taking 4 and 5 sacks and constantly playing from behind the sticks. And UNC, one of their bugaboos defensively is they can't rush the passer. They're 91st in PFF pass rush grade, only 13 sacks on the entire season. And Drew Mestemaker, a phenomenal story. This walk-on turn starter. They get off to this hot start. They're 5-0, and then it all comes crashing back to earth last Friday night at home against South Florida, where he turns the ball over for the first time on the season, 3 interceptions. The issue is you have to go all the way back to his 8th grade football days to see tape of him coming off a 3 turnover game because he didn't start at all in high school. So I'm really interested and I'm willing to pay for him to prove to me that he can bounce back against a team like UTSA, who in the preseason at least was certainly in the conversation to win the American. That's still on the table for them if they can get hot. And I think that the offense is there after a 61-point outburst against Rice. So I'll go ahead and take the Roadrunners at plus 150.
I need to see it from the Roadrunners more than one game. I mean, it was one game, one explosion against Rice. Before then, they put up 17, should have lost to Colorado State. They lost at Temple, couldn't score there. But your points are
36
well taken.
against
I
Texas
don't
State.
hate
Texas
this
State
one.
also has no defense.
I
So
don't hate this one, but North Texas is my baby. Duck, what do you got?
Like UConn today on the money line to win against Boston College. You look at BC, they've used 48 players that have participated on defense in some capacity this season. This is a defense that has just been riddled with injuries all year.
I can't keep up with who's playing for them on defense every week.
Yeah, it's crazy. 3 on the defensive line that are out. They got an edge rusher out. 2 of the top 3 linebackers, 5 players in the 2 deep in the secondary that are out or questionable here. You look at UConn's quarterback, Fagnano, best passing day of the season last time out, 78% completion percentage, 355 yards, 4 touchdowns. Boston College has been through just a ton of off the field stuff, the locker room, and whether or not Bill O'Brien has kind of lost this group is in question. Longer in the quarterback, his production is way, way down the last 3 weeks. Coming off losing 5 in a row, this team is a complete mess. This game's going to mean everything regionally to UConn. And just like the Syracuse game did, the difference being here, UConn's not going to give this game away today. UConn's going to beat Boston College.
And by the way, Duck, Bill O'Brien, is he not talking to his agent about the Penn State job potentially? At least that's taken up some real estate in his brain this week for a season that's basically lost up there in Chestnut Hill.
Has to be.
Why is no one talking about Braun, by the way, for these big jobs? One of the best coaches in the country. Never gets mentioned for these. Anyway, uh, I want him to go somewhere where he's a dog all the time. So I don't like. I want Braun to take even a worse job. Like, so then we can just bet him as a dog more often. Anyway, I'm gonna go with Arizona State. It's a Kenny D desperation spot special. Morton's out, Hammond's starting. I know it's not a big drop off. There's Texas Tech's a little banged up in the defensive line, but this is just your all-in spot. Last week, I throw it out. Like they had to go to Utah at night. They didn't even know the quarterback was hurt until the day before, and you were starting Jeff Sims. I'll ask you a trivia question. I'll go to Calabrese because I know Collin knows this because I told him. Kenny Dillingham and Sam Levitt, including the postseason, have played 16 games together. How many have they covered?
I'll say 13.
14. 14 and
Whew.
2 against the spread. Too much disrespect here for Arizona State, who is the second most profitable home conference team over the past 20 years in all of college football, for what it's worth. But yeah, give me Dillingham to rally the troops here and pull off the upset against Texas Tech. I still think Texas Tech's the best team in the Big 12. They're probably still going to win the Big 12. They're probably still going to go to the college football playoff. You look at their schedule, I mean, this is probably the last time they get picked off, and I think they do. So we're going SMU, UTSA, UConn, Arizona State pays about 40 to 1 at DraftKings. Quick slip in the YouTube chat if you want to follow along. And by the way, we've been rolling out some awesome new updates to the Action app, and the best way to get the most from the app is by being an Action Pro subscriber. Pro subs can get real-time alerts whenever we post a pick. Sign up today with promo code BBOC20 for $20 off an annual subscription. Get a ton of benefits from that, projections, props, all of our picks in real time. So BBOC20 for Action Pro. Make sure you check it out. All right, let's get to our marquee matchup of the day between Notre Dame and USC. Notre Dame has continued to take money throughout the week. Could be some weather tonight, which is probably going to keep me off USC. My numbers show a little value in USC, but there's some injuries I'm still monitoring. And then if this is a weather game, I think that really favors Notre Dame, who does have some injuries worth noting as well. Like they lost their center, one of their best defensive linemen is out, their best special teams player is out. We'll see on the slot receive on their slot corner because Lemon could have a big day there. But if this turns into a weather game, USC's down all their backs. There's a couple injuries I'm watching on their end. That's just a huge advantage for Notre Dame, and we have seen USC not travel well. So as of now, this is a pass for me. Colin, what do you got?
Yeah, the left side of the offensive line needs to be watched for USC too, but I'm going to focus on the other side of the ball. Notre Dame team total over 35 and a half. Too many advantages here against this Trojans defense. Notre Dame is essentially unstoppable running 11 personnel and outside zone with Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love. They have been unstoppable. 3.6 yards after first contact. They have 15 touchdowns. They've only dropped the ball on the carpet twice. They have an explosive run, one of every four attempts. And then when you go to the throwing side with freshman CJ Carr, he doesn't look like much of a freshman anymore. They're top 20 in passing success rate. All four of their top targets are over 2 yards per route run. That is the explosive mark, the benchmark that we set. They have four targets that are easily cruising above that line. The Trojans just haven't been able to defend zone read concepts whatsoever from the defensive line. And even if Notre Dame is pushed into passing downs, let's say they get behind the chains, they're fourth in success rate in passing downs, and they're 21st in third down conversions. I don't see anything stopping this Notre Dame offense. I think bad weather would favor them. By the way, there's a lot of bad weather from my neck of the woods from Oklahoma, Arkansas, all the way up through Indiana. So make sure you watch that today. But it favors Notre Dame in this game, and I'm going to take over 35 and a half.
Although the worst weather of the day might be tomorrow in Cleveland. Factor sadness, where there could be what 50-mile-an-hour winds there. I don't even know. I haven't even checked that total this morning. It was like trending towards 35, a classic Cleveland game. Uh, Calabrese, what do you got?
I'm gonna go with a player prop, Jadarian Price to hit 100 rushing yards. It's just about at 5 to 2 out there in the market. Make sure to shop around. This is a game flow play for me. I see Notre Dame winning this game, leading in the second half and leaning on the run in the rain. If he gets to 15 carries, if you just look at his yards per carry average throughout the season, I think he's going to get there, and this would be the first time he gets to the century mark this season. Remember, last season against this USC defense, 111 yards on the ground for Price on just 12 carries, and he's running into that USC front that has been getting pushed around 119th in line yards, 112th in rushing success allowed on the season. So while, Love gets all the love out there in the market, there is value on Price, and I think this is the time of year that he finally punches through. Also, I'll just throw this out there. If you want to throw some couch change on this, if you parlay it with him to score multiple touchdowns to get to at least two, this pays out at 12 to 1. I think this is going to be a big game for Price.
Yeah, Notre Dame is playing really good football lately. I mean, it's like over the past couple weeks, it's Ohio State and Notre Dame. Their defense is rounding into form. They didn't get a lot of point in the second half of their past three games. Carr is playing really well. Although in this parity year, if I have to watch Ohio State beat Notre Dame again in the national title, please no. Duck, what do you got?
I think first half under 30 and a half. We have two data points now with USC going east, both against Illinois and Purdue. Both those games saw first half unders with just really sluggish starts from USC on both occurrences. Notre Dame's defense quietly improving each week, held their last three opponents to an average of 304 total yards on offense. Only three total red zone trips against the Irish in those last 3 weeks combined. 11 such occurrences the first 3 weeks. Eight interceptions in the secondary the last 3 weeks. Just a defense that's playing more cohesively, playing with their hair on fire, really getting more comfortable playing together each week. I've been really impressed with Notre Dame's defense in recent. USC, the best tackling grades in the conference per PFF, held Michigan to 3.5 yards per carry on the ground. Just looked really comfortable in that typical lower scoring Big Ten slugger game. I think Notre Dame will establish the run early here. We'll see a lot of running clock. Maybe we get a little more jet lag from USC going east again for the third time. There could be a situation where all hell breaks loose in the second half, as these shillelagh games typically can, or these crazy USC games typically can. But I think this one stays under in the first half. 30 and a half is a little too high.
Yeah, I do think that the USC defense is a bit underrated by just some metrics and ratings because that Illinois game where they had food poisoning, their green dot was ruled out. They were down to three freshman corners, so they're a little healthier on that side of the ball. And they kind of got penalized by just some metrics and rating systems if you didn't know some of the nuances of that game. So yeah, it's a pass for me. Duck first half under, Mike the price prop, and Collin going with the Notre Dame team total. Should be a good one tonight. All right, let's go. Let's bring just Duck in here for the D block. Talk some FCS. We have a pair of totals to kick things off, starting with Montana and Sacred Heart. What do we got here?
Yeah, kind of a fun late non-conference battle in FCS, but the Grizz offense is electric, especially at home. Quarterback Keely Ayotte leading this team over 500 yards of total offense per game, 7 yards per play. Eli Gilman, their running back, 7 yards per carry on the ground, 11 touchdowns this season. Sacred Heart is allowing 6.3 yards per play. Overall in defense and 5.8 yards per carry on the ground. And Sacred Heart has been in shootouts this year, and the offenses that the Pioneers have faced are not nearly as talented as this Montana group at home. The Grizz should start to rotate the twos in on defense a little early here, as the game they really want to win is next week on Friday night against Sac State on ESPN2. The Grizz have given up 38 to Idaho State, 30 to Idaho, 20 points to Indiana State, and 17 against Division II Central Washington. This is not a complete lockdown defense. Sacred Heart will score here. This is going to be a little bit back and forth, but Montana's going to put up a massive point total. This total is a little bit too high. I'd go all the way up to 58 here.
All right, and then we have Stephen F. Austin taking on Nichols. I had I think it was in March. I had Stephen F. Austin. Man, they were so bad. I had Stephen F. Austin against Nichols, and I think it was like a pick, and they lost by like 26. Shocker. What do you got here, Stephen F. Austin Nichols?
Yeah, Lumberjacks off the bye week. Previous to that, over their last four games, through three quarters, they've held opponents to 7, 6, 10, and 0 points. There was a little fluky late scoring in one of their games against Incarnate Word, but just playing really good defensive football. 2.2 yards per carry on the ground allowed this season, and less than 200 yards passing for their opponents through the air. The pass rush, 53 tackles for loss, 19 sacks secured, and they have a real strong coverage unit, strong special teams unit. Nichols' defense has also been playing well this season, allowing just 149 passing yards per game, and very, very slow pace on offense. They struggle to move the football even against marginal FCS competition. We're going to have very little explosivity, very little pace. Nichols has not had a game against an FCS opponent this season that has surpassed this total, and the highest total in an SFA game has been 52. So this is going to be a slow burning grinder. Neither one of these teams is going to put up a big point total here. SFA will control this game and win, but this has 27 to 10 written all over it. So I took under 49 and a half.
All right, we have one bonus bet. Before we get there, I'll ask you a question. Who is the best team in FCS right now? Is it still North Dakota State as always?
Yeah, but there's a lot of parity. There's a lot of really good teams. Lehigh is very good. Tennessee Tech is going to make some noise in the playoffs. South Dakota State is a little bit down. North Dakota State is a little bit down from their historic dynasty runs, but North Dakota State's still probably number one.
It's not Tarleton.
Tarleton's good.
Tarleton's
They've
damn
struggled
good.
with some injuries here, which is what we'll talk about next.
Okay, so we're gonna fade Tarleton with who they playing? West Georgia.
Yeah, and West Georgia's been a real pleasant surprise since moving up from D2. Victor Gabalis, their quarterback for Tarleton State, remains out with injury. They have several starters in the secondary that are out. Tarleton also sat some of their running backs early in the second half due to just that room being banged up. And you look at their point totals that they've allowed against significantly inferior competition in the last couple of weeks. 23, 42, and 24 points given up in recent weeks. It's homecoming. I think the motivation here is to get the lead in the second half and grind down this clock. West Georgia is no stranger to playing up. They already have several good wins against ETSU, Eastern Kentucky, Southern Utah, and they have competitive losses against two of the other premier teams in their conference. This is going to be a closer battle. West Georgia's catching a ton of points, but take them plus 23 and a half. They'll keep that a little tighter.
All right, good stuff, Duck. As always, the king of FCS. Now, before we get out of here, one final bet, one final best bet at the horn. Keep this quick, under a minute, 45 seconds a minute, which means Colin's going to go into like how bad Washington's special teams is and Grady Gross. Colin, what do you got?
Hey, Grady Gross is a good kid. Met him for the national title game. So listen, super slow start by Washington. Every time they go east, they're going east again here to play Michigan. I'm taking Michigan in the first half. Justice Haynes, little unknown. He's questionable for this game, but if he does not play, that means Washington's defense doesn't know what the game plan is going to be either. It could be a good day for Bryce Underwood to hit slot Samaj Morgan, Donovan McCulley, and the expected passing offense that Washington wouldn't be ready for. But you can't ignore what Washington has done on the road. They didn't even score in the first half against Maryland a couple weeks ago on the road. Last year, they lost all four road games: Penn State, Indiana, Rutgers, Iowa. They are horrible in Big Ten play away from home, playing in the Central and Eastern time zone. Even against Rutgers, against on Friday night last week. I mean, what do we have? 21 points in the third quarter. I was a little bit worried they're going to lose that outright. So I'm just fading a team that never shows up on the road.
Mixed bag of injury news for Washington. They'll get Durfee back, their best edge rusher. Looks like Manu's going to play. They've like held him out last week. I think they're only going to play him. They're fighting eligibility. That's big because their linebackers have been hurt. But looks like Willis and Mills, two of their starting offensive line, are going to be out. That's big against Michigan. Calabrese, what do you got?
Let's balance out that ugly under with Oklahoma State with an exciting over between Texas State and Marshall over 65. Carlos Del Rio Wilson has pumped life back into this Marshall offense. He was a diamond in the rough, a former four-star, kind of a reclamation project. Well, he's absolutely popped. In his starts this season, 13 total touchdowns, zero interceptions. He has essentially elevated their ceiling to such a point where in his three starts, the average total points scored have been 82 because this Marshall defense is still absolutely horrific. And Texas State, even though they've taken a step back in scoring and total offense, they're still 15th and 29th respectively there. So they have a lot to bring to the table in terms of Brad Jackson, Bo Sparks, Lincoln Perry. They have a three-headed monster there. I think this is going to be a classic Sun Belt shootout. I think this one's going to cruise past 65, be played in the 70s, if not the 80s, a potential ladder candidate here.
All right, let's go for my final. Oh, Duck, I got to get to you first. What do you got?
Yeah, Northwestern team total under 24 and a half. Massive letdown spot off the big win against Penn State anyway. Purdue's defense played a little better last week against Minnesota, and I just still don't trust Preston Stone to consistently throw Northwestern out of trouble here. I like Griffin Wilde, the receiver, but outside of that, there's not a lot of explosiveness. Northwestern scored 42 against Louisiana Monroe and Western Illinois, but outside of that, they're averaging 14 points per game on the season against other competition. Chicago going to have a little wind gust there right off the lake where their pop-up stadium is situated. It just feels like whoever wins this game is going to fail to exceed 24 points in a slow-burning grinder. So I think Purdue can win the game anyway. I like Northwestern's team total under 24 and a half.
All right, good stuff there. For my final best bet, I'm going to my backyard. We're going with the Cats against Texas. I hope that they get me to the window because I've been dealing with, I live right down the street from Keeneland, been dealing with Keeneland traffic. Now we're going to have Kentucky traffic tonight. It's a nightmare. Sound like an old man yelling about traffic. But look, Texas, tough spot after the Oklahoma game. They've been really bad the past 5 years. The week after Kentucky off of a bye. I know Stoops has been bad off a bye. It is a bit of a concern. But you're betting on a dog that's going to act like they bet on themselves. They're just going to play a ton of shell coverages. Make Texas drive the field. They've not shown they can do that on any consistent basis against anybody. And then Kentucky's going to try to bleed the clock out. How are they going to score? I don't know. Don't ask me. They have elite special teams, a punt return touchdown. I'll make Texas prove they can win this by two plus touchdowns on the road. Game should be ugly. Take the points. That'll do it for us. Thanks to Duck, Collin, Calabrese for joining me. Thanks to our producer, Gif. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in. 959 Bad Beat. Don't forget about the voicemail. Don't forget about the quick slip. Don't forget about the Action Network app, at Playbook on Twitter. Recap episode tomorrow. Group of Five guys back on Wednesday. Collin and I'll be back on Thursday. Show, as always, same time next week, Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. Good luck on all of your wagers today. We'll catch y'all during the week. Cheers.